Hi everyone, welcome to Networking Now India. Hi to all those that are logging in. Hello, hi. So we're back with the 3 p.m. live on Networking Now India. Today we're talking about an all new topic, something different, something very exciting. I'm actually speaking to a very good friend of mine, Puja, who is speaking to us all the way from Singapore, and she's talking to us a topic which is something that everyone's actually been talking about, which is NLP. I'm going to let her describe what she does because I think that would be a better way. But Puja also hosted a workshop with us some time ago, which was all about how to network, how to kind of behave while networking, what are your behavioral patterns while networking, and it was a huge success. And I can't tell you how many people asked me to get Puja back. So today we're chatting with her all the way from Singapore. Let me get her on. If you have any questions, don't forget to leave them in the live so I can ask Puja the questions as well. Hi, Puja.
Hi, how are you, Sean?
Can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't. I think you're against the light. So if you want to switch over.
Yeah, I'll just move it a bit.
Yeah.
Lovely. Okay, so is it clear now?
Yeah. Better. I can see you.
Okay, fantastic.
Okay. Can everyone see and hear Puja? Let me know because we'll start. How are you?
I'm good. It's great. We're going to be coming hopefully out of lockdown in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah. Hopefully, us too.
How is India doing?
Well, we're not so good here in Bombay. But hopefully it gets better and hopefully things change soon. So someone has said they can't hear you. Is it that you can't hear because everyone says they can see you and hear you? So let me know if that changes. But Puja, today we're talking all about you, and you did a workshop with us when you were here last, and it was such a success, and everyone was just everyone told me, why can't she do a longer workshop? Why can't she be here longer? And I think everyone loved it. So thank you for that. But I'm going to let you explain what you do, what NLP is before we get started, because I think only you can explain that best.
Sure. Okay. So a lot of people ask me that, and they're like, "Well, what is it exactly?" Because it sounds so mysterious, And actually, all NLP is a form of life coaching, where we help people uncover their blind spots. So, really looking into the subconscious. We do timeline, regression therapy, looking into the past a little bit, but mostly focusing also on the future. So where can you go after having dealt with your past? What are the next steps? So there's a huge focus on.
Oh, they can't hear you, Puja. Puja, they can't hear you very well. So you want to come closer or just shift your location?
If you just give me a second, let me adjust the audio.
Yeah. So we'll just wait for Puja.
Okay, let me know if you can hear me now.
Way better.
Way better. Okay, fantastic. Great. Okay, brilliant. So I think I know what the issue was. It was the audio. So just to give you like a quick snapshot, NLP was a system that was developed in the 70s by two therapists that were trying to create rapport with their patients. And what they did was they actually also created scripts that would help their patients, like I mentioned earlier, uncover blind spots, what's lurking in their subconscious minds. How do we bring it out? Let's get to the root of the issue. Like some people will come to me and they'll say, hey, listen, we want to start a baking business. And as I uncover those issues, like getting to that baking business, all of a sudden we'll discover that, hey, actually that's not the issue over here, so it, there's something else that's deeper that's lurking underneath. So having a look at blind spots, having a deep look into what's blocking people and getting to the root of the issue. And also because of that, at that point, you're able to recreate a life that you want to live. So besides the NLP coaching, I also do, as you know, the NLP training, which I loved. Thank you so much for that positive feedback. I mean, I loved training over there with you guys. It was one of my most fun sessions. I train corporates here, and I work with governmental institutions in Singapore as well. And what I do is I work with the subconscious mind in a different way, using communication skills. So in this sense, we look more at nonverbal communication and how do you communicate with others using your nonverbals better. And a lot of people, it's a very, I think I gave a little bit of a flavor during the networking talk I did for you guys. But a lot of people have never actually, heard of those concepts before, like looking at the feet and seeing how, hands impact communication. So that's a very, very, it's a fun topic. So I'm busy between the life coaching and the training. But more recently, I've been doing a lot more training because, I mean, there's such a big demand for nonverbal communication.
Yes, absolutely. And we have Afshin, who was there at, her brand is Whistle While You Work. She was there at your workshop in Bombay, and she says, so excited for this live. Love the session you'd organized with Puja last year. I think you were a huge hit, Puja. I don't even have to tell you that. People didn't want to leave. The venue was chucking us out, but so Naeem is here, and he says, when you coming back? Still waiting.
I remember him. Well, whenever this whole lockdown can, when we can travel again. Yeah.
Yeah. And Amina says the workshop we attended last time with Puja was amazing.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you so much. I really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was fun. So, of course, today we are talking about NLP, and you've given us a bit of a brief. And I want to ask you, what made you, a certified trainer? Like, what made you push to do this? Was there like something? So, for example, I believe in Buddhism, and that's something I practice. And I feel like it takes something like life-changing for you to really adopt a new lifestyle or something which you take on for a longer time. So, what changed in your life that you took this on? Was it tough to train for this? And tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I mean, ever since I was young, I always had this calling to kind of go deeper into the mind. And, just I would read all sorts of spiritual books like Osho, Wayne Dyer. I think I started at the age of 14. Swami Vivekananda. And I was always in that field of growth. Like I always wanted to know, what is it? What is it that, what can I do to enhance myself, And what happened was I actually got hit with a very bad bout of anxiety, actual anxiety, like, GAD it's called, in my late 20s. I'm going to be 40 this year, but this was about 11 years ago. And 11 or 12 years ago. And it was terrible. And I remember researching online and looking for methods to heal myself naturally because I really didn't want to go with the medication route. And I tried many methods like the Linden method, which was excellent. I still have a lot of tools from there. I did a lot of guided meditations, but finally nothing actually really worked. And then I had to go to a doctor. And then after that, what happened, which was, a blessing because, I was like searching. I was like, well, what is it that can really, get me out of this anxiety? Because I tend to put a lot of pressure on myself, to be perfect, So I wanted to, uncover all those issues that I had. And I found NLP. And in, I think, around 2010 or 11, I started researching on it and I was like, oh, this looks amazing. I found a great institute. And before you knew it, I started the course. I did the basic course. I noticed how it helped. And then I got a bit, okay, you know what? I don't know if I really want to teach this because they were encouraging me. They were really saying, look, you should teach this. This is, my mentors. And I was a little bit hesitant because I was like, I don't know, it's it's a big commitment. And a year later, I ended up doing the master practitioners. After that, I got hooked. The masters took me much deeper, and then I ended up going to Australia to actually do the train the trainers. So I can actually train trainers in this now. And so that's really what took me towards, teaching NLP to people. But I have to say that I use NLP in my teachings, but I also use other modalities too, because there's, especially for my corporate training, there's tons of research out there, really up-to-date neuroscience, which I love to use, like, from FBI experts, and that really complements the body language courses. So so that's actually how I got into it. Yeah.
Oh, so Megha says, what's the full form of NLP, not NAP? NLP. Is NLP a type of hypnosis? Somebody's asking, startup co-founders.
That's a really good question, because actually within the scripts that we use, there is a little bit of very mild hypnosis. So it's a very,
I didn't know that.
It's extremely mild. So, but, I'm very particular when I do my coaching that I follow those scripts. It stands for Neuro-Linguistic Programming, NLP. It sounds like it's a computer program, but it's not. It's all about the science of the mind.
Okay. Great. So you spoke about one thing, Puja, which a lot of people have been feeling it at this point during COVID-19, is anxiety. And I think everyone's finding different ways to deal with it. But what would you say is the positive impact of NLP towards anxiety like this? You said you had it earlier. So like in the simplest way possible, how does it cure this? So what can one do?
Okay, so there's a lot of things that you can do for anxiety. NLP kind of... If you're looking for like short-term solutions, there are quite a few. Of course, I mean, I can tell you those now. One thing I just want to explain about anxiety is that people sometimes have a misconception that if you're stressed, like if you're going through a stressful situation, you're actually experiencing anxiety. That's not true. It's a false misconception. However, real anxiety happens when there's an accumulation of stress points in your life, and it's usually built up over a number of years. So the difference between stress and anxiety, or what they like to call general anxiety disorder, happens when people actually lose their ability of two things: of their emotional state, where, sometimes you might feel a bit blurry, forget things, you might find yourself snapping at people suddenly out of nowhere, so that fuzzy feeling, and physically involuntary bodily reactions. So for example, feeling dizzy suddenly in the middle of a supermarket, or getting twitches in certain parts of your body, or having headaches, constant headaches. Some people see spots in their eyes, or they just could be getting sick more often than they usually do, or get sneezing fits, or there's so many different symptoms of, that where it's involuntary and you actually can't control it. So all of these, if this is continuous, then there's a sign that there's an underlying issue going on. Now, it's also important to note that anxiety just doesn't happen overnight, suddenly, okay? It creeps up on you. And it takes years and years of stress. It takes years of burnout. It takes years of negative thinking patterns, things happening around you which cause you stress to get you to that state. And what happens is that your serotonin levels in your brain actually dips too low, and for you to be able to function normally. So that's a difference. And there are a lot of things that you can do. I like to say, that you need to keep your 4 hormones. Okay, this is to prevent anxiety and to keep anxiety at bay, is to boost your 4 happy hormones. So the 4 happy hormones are endorphins, oxytocin, dopamine, and serotonin. Okay. And So for example, if, you know, going outside and getting sunlight, that actually boosts your endorphins and your serotonin levels,
Yeah.
even for 10 minutes a day. Or even going and sitting in your balcony and reading, or just looking out at, you know, just being outside and getting that exposure to the outside world
Yeah.
actually boosts your endorphins and serotonin levels. Exercise, that's great. You boost your endorphins, your serotonin, and your dopamine levels. You know, and we all know the benefits of exercise as well in terms of building immunity. And
Yeah.
then we have things such as, you know, keeping yourself like in a good frame of mind. So laughing is amazing. You know, laughing with other people, it relieves anxiety, it relieves stress, okay, because you're again boosting dopamine and endorphin levels.
Yeah.
You won't believe this, but cooking actually activates all those four happy hormones, especially if you're sharing the meal with your family. And listening to music, huge impact. We tend to underestimate it. Really increases your dopamine levels. So
Yes.
those
Yeah.
are really important. But
Okay.
if you're so those are for general anxiety. But if you're having a panic attack, there's a couple of things that you can do. And that is, I can also let you know about that, because I know a lot of people have been
Yes.
recently
Yes. Yeah.
complaining to me about panic attacks. The first thing is to, if you find yourself in the midst of a panic attack, you need to find something immediately to distract you. So, you know, it could be even just switching on the TV, or, you know, watching a YouTube video, or putting on a documentary. Okay, a really like a documentary that you find interesting. Could be on wildlife, or what say you? Okay, just anything to divert your mind.
Yeah.
You know, another thing that really helps if you get a panic attack is taking a really cold shower, because what that does is it stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system, which is your where your vagus nerve is, and that, you know, enhances relaxation in your body.
Yeah.
There's this area in the back of our neck at the base of our head, and I like to call this the magic point. So if you find yourself in a panic attack, immediately put your hand behind your neck like this and just massage the base of your skull. Again, that stimulates and actually, there's some research to show that just doing a light massage here for a few minutes by yourself reduces cortisol by 30%.
Okay.
And that's
Yeah.
huge. That's huge.
Wow. That's huge.
And
Yeah.
what, yeah, yeah. And once you've done that, then you can actually do your deep breathing. Because sometimes when you're in, you know, let's say someone's experiencing a panic attack, they might find it really hard to go straight into deep breathing, right? So once you've calmed down a bit, then you do your deep breathing exercises. And again, that stimulates the vagus nerve. So count to 4, inhale for 2, and exhale for 6. The trick in deep breathing is that your exhale should always be longer than your inhale.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So that
I didn't know.
really, yeah, that plays a big difference in your
Wow, thanks,
parasympathetic.
Puja. Those are great tips right there. So if anyone is going through something like this, they can follow these. Even Afshin from Whistle While You Work has written, I just read a wonderful article on Harvard Business Review about how laughter even improves productivity.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it does. I mean, you know, why does it improve productivity? It's because it lowers your stress hormones and it increases the happy hormones that I told you about. So whenever your brain actually gets that time and that rest, which is what we're going to talk about Nixon in a bit, then, you know, you have the capacity to think out of the box. You're able to focus better. You're able to come up with more innovative ideas. Another trick that I like to tell people is that magnesium is great for calming. So I like to call it our calming friend. And you get magnesium in high content of cocoa. So dark chocolate is fantastic for calming
Obviously.
you down
Yeah.
as well. Yes, yeah.
Wow,
So
lovely. Great. These are great tips. And, you know, of course, like you mentioned, Nixon is something we're going to talk about. And if you can explain the concept of Nixon, and, you know, in India, we all live very like fast-paced lives, very busy all the time. This is very unusual for us during, you know, this lockdown. So can we adopt something like this? What's your thought?
absolutely. I think at this point, yeah, I mean, this is the perfect time to practice Nixon, because once the lockdown gets over, wow, boom, we're going to be hit with so many things. You know, it's going to be, you know, I think most of us we'll go through a period of overwhelm because suddenly we'll be having to go to events and functions again, and birthdays, and and then also go to the office, and then go to school for the whole pace of life will start picking up. And we've been so used to this this kind of mode of just playing it low, right? So it's a fascinating concept. It's a Dutch concept, Nixon, and it's fascinating to me. And why I picked up on it was because it's very counterintuitive to how we've all been brought up. We as kids, or even as young adults, we've been taught that you need to do things with purpose all the time. You need to be productive all the time. And well, just sitting there and actually just being is what Nixon is all about. And it is one of the most underestimated productivity tips out there, according to a number of experts in the field of neuroscience. So what is it? It's any activity that relaxes you, as long as that activity has no purpose, does not engage you in any focused attention. So that activity is not gearing you to do something productive out of it. Also, Nixon, as some experts say that, or define it as being like an easy, semi-automatic activity, such as knitting or washing dishes or stroking your pets. Basically, anything that allows your brain to unwind. And when it unwinds, you naturally daydream. Now, daydreaming is actually very good for you, because when you daydream, that's when the benefits of Nixon actually take place. Sometimes we misconceive relaxation for Nixon. And people might pull out their phone and say, oh, okay, it's time for us to just chill. And they'll put out their phone and they'll check their social media, or they'll check their Insta, or, they'll say, okay, let me read a book, or let me watch a movie. But all that creates focused attention in your mind. So the idea is to do something like, for example, doodling is a relaxing activity, and you don't need to think about it when you're doing it. When you doodle, you're just doodling, right?
Even
Coloring, exactly. Yeah. As long as you're not too focused on getting it to look good or having an end purpose in mind. And for most people, the idea of doing nothing is actually frightening, and it's counterintuitive to the idea of productivity. As I mentioned, it's because we're so used to being bombarded with information, and we live in such a fast-paced world. So the idea is, so our brains and our bodies have been conditioned to to achieve, and we're in a world of constant motion. We've taught actually that in order to be worth anything, we need to constantly achieve. Now, I mean, I've obviously discovered over this last 2-3 months that that this couldn't be further from the truth, because the greatest insights and breakthroughs happen when you're inspired. And sometimes you get your greatest inspirations when you're literally just staring out at space, or just looking at trees, or you're doodling, or you're throwing a ball against a wall, or you're just mindlessly stroking your dog and just daydreaming, or even if you're at the beach just looking at the waves. It's really good for your inspiration levels, and neuroscience actually supports this. They say that what the research shows is that these menial activities these menial activities can enable you to take large imaginative leaps. So this idleness that you think is what you're doing is idle, it actually forces your brain to seek out for more stimuli. And so because without all that external input that you go through on a daily basis, your brain starts to go inwards finally, and starts to wonder, starts to access these pieces of information and connecting concepts together and memories together. And what's so interesting is that MRI scans actually show an increase in different parts of the brain when people daydream. Yeah. It also, on that note, it also when you give your brain a break, it also contributes to 3 types of different types of thinking. It's called lateral thinking, which allows you to make more creative solutions to any problem you might have.
Yeah.
Then there's something called associative thinking, where you're able to connect separate thoughts together, disparative thinking. And the third type is called divergent thinking. And this is where, when your brain, when the magic hits, when all these different imaginative ideas start to take place. So giving your brain a break to be idle and unfocused is also a great motivator. You know, it lights up a fire within you to seek out new experiences that you might have otherwise dismissed.
I
So, you
think
know,
a lot of
sometimes
people
when...
will be happy to hear this.
I know,
You can
it's...
be idle and still productive, you know? And,
Yeah, it's one of the biggest
yeah.
productivity hacks. And you know, sometimes when you fall sick and you're in bed and you're lying in bed for a few days, what happens to you when you come out? You know, you end up, the truth is, you think you're bored during that time. Your brain is actually going through those three methods of thinking because it's finally got a break. It's finally got a chance to rejuvenate and you know, come up with... It's almost like a rebirth you go through, and suddenly you've got all these new ideas, right? You're rejuvenated, and you know, because you've had that stillness of mind.
Yeah,
So
Nimrata's here, and she says, does
hi,
walking...
Nims.
Nims is, of course, one of my favorite people. I always say, you know, I'm very casual on my life, so I have to say Nims is one of my favorite people. And she asks, does walking fall under the same category? So I think she's asking about what you were talking about, Nick.
That's a really good question, because if you're walking with a focus in mind, so for example, if you, let's say you decide to go on a walk, you know your route very well. You know, you're not seeking a new path, or you're not stuck in a new place and searching for directions. So
Yeah.
if you're walking and it's almost like a semi-automatic activity, especially the place that you're walking,
Yeah.
or you know, then yes, that can be considered Nixon. Anything that allows you to daydream, anything that allows you to give you a pause. And I remember I just did a webinar, I think last week, and someone asked me a question like that as well. They said, like, they asked, what about yoga? And I said, definitely yoga is great, but there's still an end goal. You're still focusing on the asanas. You're still focusing to reach the next asana. If it's flow yoga, where you're just letting your body be and you're just doing it freely, then that's completely different, you know? So so that's the difference. So
Got it.
walking, as long as you're comfortable with the path you're taking and you don't need to take any new routes, and you know, there's no danger around you, and you don't need to be on alert mode. So yeah, definitely walking.
So like a park, which you know, and you just keep going round, then that's fine. Yeah, I understand.
Exactly.
Great.
Exactly.
Okay. So I'm just going to read one or two comments before I take the next question. Startup founder says she has got so much knowledge. That's exactly why I wanted Puja on my live, because she's amazing. And Puja, you explain everything so well, because none of us know much about this. So it's great. It's very easy for us to understand.
I'm so glad.
Help me please, Nidhi says, they say only ideas that come from the pure consciousness is inspirational. From the spiritual self, rest are all motivational.
Could you repeat that again?
She says that they say only ideas that come from the pure consciousness are inspirational. From the spiritual self, rest is all motivational.
So I think maybe she's rephrased it. You know, the last part of her sentence doesn't really
so I
make
think
too
she's
much
saying
sense.
Exactly what you said. Exactly what you said about the fact that so when your ideas are, when you're just chilling and you know you're unwinding, those are the ideas that you can really work on, but the rest is all from a certain motive. You know, you're really thinking about it. Maybe that's
exactly. But she made a very good point about this from the spiritual angle. So when you meditate and when you actually access that higher power within you, or that soul, you know, that inner being, then you also get your greatest insights. But when you're in proper meditation, when you're in true meditation, your you're unfocused on any thought. So that's very much, it's a good question. The first part of your question was good because
Yeah.
she brought something to light which a lot of people have asked about, is that is meditation considered Nixon?
Yeah.
So yes, as long as, again, there's no focus in mind.
Yeah.
You can use a mantra or a chant to get you to focus, but then once you're in that space of no mind, you're in Nixon.
Yes.
So
that's a great point. So somebody's actually sent me an inbox question which says, does dancing help?
dancing helps, but again, free dance. Anything that you follow, like for example, if you're watching a YouTube video and you're going through the steps and you're still taxing your brain with focused attention.
Got
So
it.
if it's a free flow dance, where you're just following your hand, or you're in your garden and you're just moving to music, you're inspired and you're moving, then that's different.
Okay, got it. So tell me, Pooja, I am a person who's a huge overthinker, and my mind is always working. My mom tells me this. She's like, you never relax. So she's like, you don't know how to relax. And so tell me, does Nixon work for people like me, if there are more like me out there?
I'm a bit like you too. My mind's always racing. And so
Racing.
that's why I feel this is so effective for people like us. There's some people that can just hit the bed and fall asleep straight away. I'm not like that. So this has really helped me because and I think for you as well, if you practice this more, like, sometimes in between appointments, or let's say we get done with the IG talk, and then suddenly the impulse is to check our phone, right? It's to go on and so no, the idea is to drop everything and literally just sit there and do nothing, and or do something that's easy on your mind. Take out a pen and paper and just start drawing anything that takes your mind away from focus. And if you do this at least 5 times a day, I can tell you, suddenly you'll start getting these really big insights. That tendency to overthink will reduce, and you'll sleep better.
Okay.
So
I'll try this.
Yeah, try it. And if you have any, you can always message me and ask me.
Yeah, I've actually tried this new thing, Puja, in the last 1 month, which has really helped me. But I'm going to try exactly what you said. One is switching off my WhatsApp notifications so they don't pop up on my screen. It's only when I open the app. So that's one. And 2 is just not looking at my phone the minute I wake up, because otherwise I spend 20 minutes in bed on my phone, and that's a waste of my time. And then you wake up feeling, pulled down or run down. So
exactly.
There's really no, yeah. So I'll just sorry.
In fact, it's so true. The first thing you do when you wake up should be don't even look at your phone and just go straight into chanting, or go straight into you read a spiritual, take out your book and read a spiritual page, or something that just anything to stay away from the phone. I, like you, also, I've switched off all my, so people sometimes say, oh my gosh, you haven't replied to my message. And that's because I've switched off all my notifications. So unless I'm on WhatsApp, I can't see if you've messaged me. Unless I'm on Instagram, I can't see if you've tagged me. So it
but
really
it's
helps.
been brilliant. It's been brilliant for me. It's changed a lot.
Good.
And
Excellent.
Honestly, like in this quarantine and the lockdown, I've just made time for what I really want to do. Talk to people I really want to be in touch with and talk to. And I think that is another thing which you just stay in focus with, just being happier, I feel.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
So somebody has commented, it's Panda Social says, this is so insightful, and I completely agree. And Puja Bagdani says, how do we manage anxiety and a peace of mind? But Puja, we've answered that earlier. So in case you joined late, it'll be in our IGTV right after this live. And I'm going to take the next question, which I have for you is, moving out of this, Puja, we're going to definitely be in a new normal that everyone says. It's not going to really be the normal again. What are your thoughts on, working on yourself through this? So mental, physical, positivity and health, if I can just break it down to that. Any ideas that you have, what people can do?
So once the lockdown is over?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it starts with the mindset first, right? So what is it that we can do to increase our emotional well-being? There's a couple of things, and I think it's important for people that are struggling when they come out of lockdown, you know, because suddenly the change and the sudden, oh, having to go back and, you know, can be quite jolting.
Yes.
So, so there's three things that we need to focus on. The first thing is mental self-care. And one of the things I like to tell myself is that the idea that progress and not perfection. So working towards just doing what you can during the day. So, you know, you don't have to hit all, you know, you don't have to hit everything that you've assigned, that you know, you've told yourself you're going to do. If you don't, it's okay.
Yeah.
So you have to ease in very slowly. And, you know, like you don't have to, like, for example, even during lockdown, the sudden pressure of homeschooling a 10-year-old and a 12-year-old has been like one of the biggest shocks to my system. And but I have to keep reminding myself every day that progress, not perfection. It doesn't have, you know, my child doesn't have to be acing the program. It's okay if he makes a mistake. It's okay if he chills out today. It's okay if I chill out today. You know, and so in my prayers every morning, I remind myself of a few things. The other thing that I always say is that, how important is it? So if something is bothering me, firstly, I'll identify what it is. I'll identify the emotion. I go really specific, you know, I'm like, okay, what was it that is making me feel uncomfortable? Okay, it's that message. Okay, what about that? What is that message doing? Okay, it's creating this emotion in me. Fine, that's it. Okay,
Yeah.
but then I think to myself, how important is it really? Is this really, this little issue that I have, going to affect me 5 years from now? If it's not, then there's no use wasting even 5 minutes on it. So acknowledging it, but then moving on, you know. Secondly, I can't tell you, and I'm sure all of us, I think everyone is working out now. I think that the exercise plays such a large role in, you know, our mental well-being.
Yes.
You know, so for example, for me, I have a bike at home, so I spin every day. And I initially was, you know, really excited to get online and do the classes online with my spin teachers. And I started like that. But gradually, after like 3 or 4 weeks, I started to feel that even that was putting pressure on me. So I stopped doing those online classes and I started doing intuitive Nixon spinning, which means that I just listen to music and I just listen to my body.
Yeah.
And I go into a zone where I'm like, you know, I feel like I'm literally in heaven because I'm not focused on, I'm not putting pressure on myself, and I'm giving my brain that break to unwind while I'm working out. So I'm combining two things in one. And of course, you have to have an amazing playlist and you know, visualize. So I like to visualize my future as I'm spinning and listening to music. So okay, I want to imagine this, or I want to imagine that, and you know how. And I don't even think, how am I going to get there? I'm just picturing it, and I'm letting it go. So that's huge. And the third most important thing, which I think all of us should maintain even after lockdown ends, is that the idea of going out in fresh air, you know, getting outside for a walk, outside even for a quick walk, even if it's 5-10 minutes. I'm so strict with my kids, you know, because a lot of their friends sit home and they do their HIIT at home, you know, because now they have no choice to go to school and do PE at school. So the parents are doing HIIT with them at home, which is great. But we do that, but they have to get out of the house every day, even if it's just 5 minutes, even if it's just taking the dogs down, because that exposure to sunlight makes such a big difference on our well-being. Even if you don't go out in the sunlight, just getting out, it you know, the exchange of energy with people that you have on the road, that is also it's great, you know, especially during this period, just having that eye-to-eye connection with people and knowing that you're not alone, you know.
Also, nature
And
is such a big healer. You know, nature, flowers, just being around happy, colorful things can really lift your mood.
Absolutely, Shan. In fact, there's a lot of research surrounding seeing the color green, I think. And I think it's an evolutionary, I think they say that when you look at trees for 40 seconds, at least 40 seconds, it increases endorphins in your brain.
Really?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So I think, but this is an evolutionary thing that's kind of primed human beings to be outside in nature as well.
But absolutely,
So,
because I was listening to a webinar by a positivity coach the other day, and you know, the first thing she said is just go out and take a walk. Like you said, you send your kids down every day, because that just lets, otherwise you're cooped up at home, and it's now been 2.5 months, and you're with the same people
yeah.
around the same space, you know, it's a lot.
Yes, exactly. And like, I don't know how you guys have done it. At least in Singapore, we've been able to step out, you know, but I believe in Bombay and in the rest of India, I mean, you guys have been cooped. So
Yeah.
I know that you all have terraces over there.
Yes.
And, you know, but it's tough, you know.
It's tough. It's not easy, and I agree with you that you have to get out and just be and kind of be around nature. So that's a very big thing. I'm going to take
Yes.
some questions, Puja, before I move on to my last one. Whistle while you work. Afshin says, "Are you doing any virtual NLP train the trainer trainings?" Wow, train the trainer trainings.
I'm not actually training people to teach NLP at the moment, because I've got a lot of other trainings going on. But I do one-on-one coaching sessions via Zoom. In fact, I spend my whole day on Zoom nowadays. So I'm happy to do one-on-one coaching sessions. But yeah, I'm not conducting any yes.
Okay. So some Megha Verma said, "What's Pooja's Instagram handle?" There are two. So Pooja, you want to just share them? Yeah.
Okay, so if you want to follow me, follow Puja GENOMAL, because I'm actually very lazy about updating my Inner High Living account. But Puja GENOMAL is where I kind of put most of my, you know, my inspirational quotes and workshops. I've always posted up, and you can check out my highlights as well. So at PUJAGENOMAL.
So Pooja, I also want to ask you another question, which is, you know, you said that you do some trainings for the Singapore government and, you know, things like that. So if there are businesses that want to get in touch with you to do this, of course, now it has to be via Zoom unless you when you visit India next. But what can they expect? So how do they book with you, and what can they expect?
Oh, okay. So for trainings, like online training?
Yeah, so like for their teams, because the kind of workshop that you did for my members was a huge hit. So, you know, I'm sure there are teams that need that feeling of togetherness right now. Maybe everyone's in this learning phase. Everyone's willing to learn. So can they just get in touch with you directly?
Absolutely. So they can contact me via my Instagram account. They can also email me on innerhighliving@gmail.com.
Okay.
And I will definitely get back to them straight away. I'm also on LinkedIn under Pamela Puja Kirpalani. They can add me on LinkedIn as well. But if you prefer to contact me via email, innerhighliving@gmail.com is the best way to contact me. And yes, I've been doing quite a few online trainings now. In fact, the demand is a lot more because, you know, most people are homebound, so they want to learn. And to, like, for example, on Monday, I have one for like a 1-hour one for almost 200 people on Zoom.
Wow.
So yeah, so, you know, people are looking for inspiration and also new techniques. They want to learn new techniques. The body language training workshop that I teach is very focused on that. It's very focused on nonverbal communication. That's actually a very popular one.
It is. And I think this is something that every company should have their team do as well, because it was so exciting and interesting to learn how just one movement in your body can really, you know, it's as if you're saying something else, or what you mean is different to the way. So one thing I always remember, Puja, from that workshop of yours is when I'm at a table and chatting with someone, I make sure to keep my legs facing them.
Good. I'm
just
so
to
glad you
show
remember that, Shan.
just to show my interest. So
Interest.
I remember that, of course. I want to ask you one more question before I let you go. But of course, my mother, who's your biggest fan, has logged in,
Oh,
and
hi,
she
Auntie
has to
Shams.
say, mom, we're having a business chat today, and she says, "Hi, Pooja, how are you? You've lost so much weight."
Oh, thank
So
you.
I had to mention that because you are looking lovely and you always do. But I'm
Oh,
going to
thank
ask
you.
you one more thing, which is, like we spoke about anxiety, we spoke about people going through different things. So currently during COVID-19, it's tough times for everyone. I want to know, how do you realize that you're at the level of a burnout? How do you know that you're close to a burnout? And what's like the quickest way to deal with it? Just basically, are there any red flags we should look out for?
I love that question because there are a couple of so basically, what are the red flags to kind of show you, that you're burning out or you're about to get there? So the first thing would be not being able to sleep at night. And this has become a huge issue. See, actually, what's happened is that because people are now at home and working from home, actually the pressure to achieve is a lot, surprisingly, a lot more than it would be if you're in an office environment. So so one of the red flags is not being able to sleep at night. You're overthinking, and you're getting 5-6 hours, and you're waking up and you're not able to go back to sleep. So that's a red flag. The second one is the symptoms of anxiety, which I kind of spoke
Yeah, you
about a little
mentioned that.
earlier. Yeah. The third thing that you can look out for is where you start, like, for example, someone who's really burnt out will not want to step out of the house. They'll start just wanting to go in, to kind of, there's this term called rumination where you tend to kind of spiral and you get into a negative spiral.
Yeah.
And the thought of even stepping out is so overwhelming to you. So that's another sign, not wanting to step out. Also avoiding interaction with people. So let's say you get an invite to a house party call or a Zoom call, or you get an opportunity to interact with someone. The fact that you don't want to is also like a signal. I mean, of course, you don't have to take every single one, but if you notice that you're saying no more often to interacting with people, it's because you're overwhelmed, and you just want to focus on yourself, because
Yeah.
that's the only energy you have, is to sustain yourself at that point. So yeah, so how do you prevent this? It's by, we talked a lot about,
Yeah. I think you've given
having a
the
consistent,
solutions. Yeah, you've given us the
yes, of
solutions.
having a consistent routine,
Yeah.
playing with your happy hormones, and also being very consistent with, like for me, what really helps when I feel like I've got an overload of work and I'm beginning to start feeling burnt out, is I always just go back to my prayers or my meditation, and then I make sure that I read something. It could be even just one paragraph of something that's inspirational, and then I have to do my exercise. So these three things, really help you kind of jump out of that rumination mode and
Yeah.
burnout.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Puja, it's been so amazing chatting with you. I can't tell you. It's like a bundle of positivity and such great tips, for all of us. And you really shared a lot of knowledge. So thank you for that. We have a comment
Thank
from
you for
Puja.
having me.
Yeah, we have a comment from Puja who says that workshop was so amazing when she did it in Mumbai. Shan, please do one more. So I agree. When you come next, we
I
have
will
to make this happen.
100% do another workshop with you guys. I really enjoyed that too, and I'm just so touched by all the positive feedback.
Yeah.
I feel very blessed.
Everyone wants you
Thank
back. Your
you.
mom is here and she says so many useful tips, Pooji. So good to have you here,
This is
Auntie.
probably the first time my mom has come onto IG Live, by the way. It's because of you,
How-
Shan.
so good to have her here. Everyone is saying well done, lots of hearts and hugs. Pooja, it really was fabulous to have you. Thank you for this. And
Thank you, Shan, for having me. Thank you so much. And I'm so happy that we got this opportunity to catch up as well.
I know, and Nimrita says learned so much from Pooji today, as always. Thank you, Shan and Pooji. So it's great.
Thank you, Nims.
It was just great to, this, I think I'm feeling so positive after this chat. And I think everyone should even forward this to their friends, because it's a great way to really rethink our times right now. We all have time on our hands, which has never come before. And hopefully
Yes.
never comes again.
Absolutely. And if people are having it, if they have any questions or doubts, or, they need help, I'm happy to, help in any way. If there's any, especially on Nixon, I got a lot of questions last time, my last webinar. A lot of people were asking, oh, okay, so tell me a little bit more about this. How can I practice it? So feel free to email me at any point in time. I'm happy to help.
Awesome. And please check out Puja's Instagram for those of you who don't follow Puja GENOMAL. And she also does do one-on-one, stuff through Zoom, and also group classes. So Puja, I think I'll let you go now, because I know it's pretty late for you. It's 6 o'clock for you in Singapore. But thank you for joining us, and stay safe. I hope you're out of the lockdown.
Thank you. You too. And you're doing such a wonderful job with this, with Networking Now India. I'm so proud. So proud, Shan.
See you soon. Bye.
Okay, see you. Bye, guys. Thanks for joining. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.